So where I'm at is Brighton Beach, and basically the long and short of the story is that there's a property next to my home that was purchased in, I think it was late 2024. I think that is when the sale closed, and then immediately after that, there were rumors that
Mm-hmm.
the person who bought it wasn't the person who bought it, and that it was actually acquired by a particular character. And I've been calling this character Developer X. And
Mm-hmm.
essentially, that story is only relevant because it was only through the channel of gossip in the neighborhood that we even knew that there would be construction of a high rise.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself is the first strike because there was no notice to begin
Okay.
construction. There was no sign. Usually you see a big sign that says important notice and it has the plans and it tells you what's going to be there. None of that was erected. And we had no chance whatsoever to contest the development. And so
Mm-hmm.
um, eventually rumors died down and whatnot, and nothing was said at all. It was complete silence until I think it was December 3rd when a team of people just showed up and cut down trees and removed them from the property. Yes, Brighton, St. Michael
Right.
on the
Right.
beach.
Okay. Good.
Right.
Okay. Continue, please.
hmm So yeah, so all of those trees that were there for 70 years or more were removed, and it was a habitat for wildlife. We know that that is supposed to be a violation of the Environmental Protection and Management Act because the previous owner was informed when he tried to cut down those trees that he can only trim them a little bit. And things went on. Then December 29th, a construction team just showed up with no warning whatsoever and demolished those buildings. And before that, again, no notice was officially given to the neighborhood. There were no signs erected announcing the development. There were no screens erected to block the dust. And you've seen the footage of the dust going into the sea and into our homes. And several people had respiratory issues because of it and allergic reactions. And so, that's all still going on to this day. I mean, even myself up to today, I was coughing just being outside in my yard trying to do basic things. So, the existing fence that they have there now wasn't erected until after the demolition was completed. So they'd already dug the foundation and such until that point. Now, what I would like to ask is, has there been an environmental impact study conducted?
Mm-hmm.
Because if in fact there was one, then there should be no issue with sharing it with the public. So besides the trees being cut down, they dug up a sea turtle nest, which is near the high water mark. It's completely destroyed. They dug that up and covered it over with crushed stone, which, as far as I know, is a violation of the Environmental Protection and Management Act. And it requires, as you would know, that an environmental impact assessment should be done prior to determine the effects on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, things like pollution control should be handled. So lots of things are going on. So they then began to excavate the foundation on the site, and they dug up a whole lot of seawater that basically, because the distance from the high water mark to the shore is such a short distance, obviously that's what's going to happen. So in this neighborhood, even during rough seas and even outside of hurricane season, you have the waves that bash up against the wall and they come down that gap leading to the sea. And then that seawater gets absorbed back into the sand, into a flow of water which is underneath the sand. So currently there is still a swimming pool of water on this construction site. Okay, so I'll continue to speak. So as I asked before, why is that not a well? There were 6 suck wells on that property which were not emptied prior to the excavation, and there were Chinese laborers that were living in those houses there up to a week or so before the demolition.
Mm-hmm.
So the excavator was then used to dig up those wells, and we had coordination and stuff like that. And this particular developer was actually brazen enough to say that the septic tanks were taken out. Those were his words. You can check that in the nation. But we know that that did not occur. And first of all, the original buildings were erected in 1938. So can you tell me where they would get septic tanks from in 1938? That is a pertinent question. So what we are saying is that that water is potentially contaminated. And like I said on Sunday, I was in my yard minding my own business, and one of the workers was about 5 feet in front of me, and he said to another, "Big man, that is bare water in there." So
What?
that is
So,
confirmation.
so you heard him saying that it's Jobby Water,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the
Yeah. So he was saying that
Jobby
to
Water
another.
was where? Where was this Jobby Water?
In the water that they dug up in the when they were digging the foundation. So
Oh
this
my
water is
goodness.
continuously coming from a stream underneath the foundation. Essentially, is what I'm saying. It replenishes, and as the tide rises and lowers, you see that swimming pool of water rising and
Oh my
lowering,
God.
right? So, um, we've done everything to reach out to Coastal Zone Management Unit and the Environmental Protection Department, etc. And nobody seems to really want to touch the issue. And so, our major question is, why not? If nothing is going on, and if these things are being done within the law, then why can't someone just come and say, "Oh, there's nothing to worry about. Here's the environmental impact study. Here's the proof that the water isn't contaminated, etc., etc." And it seems to be difficult to just get someone on the phone to talk about it. So, they continued then on January 27th. They came down our driveway and they destroyed both public property and private property in front of the house on the beach. And nobody gave them any permission to dig. They just showed up and decided that they would start digging because they needed to solve a problem so that they could get their excavator down on the beach. So at that time, I got annoyed and somebody called the nation and I called brass tacks and spoke about it. And what they were actually doing was they dug up that space at the top of the driveway, which is public beach access, and they put down marl and stone. And as far as I know, digging on the beach is a violation, and so is operating
Correct.
heavy machinery. So basically, they have that, and they actually had the picture of them digging it in the nation. So I'm trying to stick to the things that are factual because this is a very sensitive issue, and you have to be careful the things that you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um on that same day of the 27th, they then installed the pipes, which basically signaled the intent to pump potentially contaminated water. Well, see, that's the sensitive part. So let me say what they did. Also on the 27th, when they dug up and put the marl and stone down at the top of the driveway, that was so that they could dig a trench on the beach and so that trucks could come down to dump marl and cover over. So what they've done is they put this huge pipe in a trench right in front of the fence on the beach side. Is that part clear? Right. So the water wasn't going anywhere yet because on that day I called brass tacks, and when I spoke about it on brass tacks, the very next day they showed up, hauled off the excavator, and construction went at a standstill. And so the only thing that has been going on is that they've come and disassembled a lookout that they had and relocated it to a different position, and they've put up the orange warning guard and things like that. And then today they show up with a pump and connected a hose to that large pipe, which is under the sand on the beach side. Well, you could both assume and you could also use logic and say that since it is going in the sand where that trench has been dug, that it is connected to that. And I saw them testing the pump. So they're pumping that water. And the only place that it could be going is through that pipe onto the beach. Rather than say onto the beach, I should say under the sand on the beach.
Oh.
And Marcia, something
Mhm.
else to add there is, which is also of public concern, is that as we know, the desalination plant is right across the street. And second to that, the construction workers told us when they were digging up and putting marl down that they were going to erect a guard hut at the top of the driveway, and that only us who live down through here would be given access. So are they saying that they intend to restrict public access to the beach? Yes, I heard a small snippet of the clip when she was talking about the civic center, and I
Mhm.
said to myself that is not going to end well for her, because we know how things are. And um I told you on when we spoke earlier that I know Crystal since school days. She was only a year above me. So I believe that she's a person of integrity, and I find it very interesting that what has transpired has transpired. I'll keep it at that.